Getting the gun is their job. But doesn't anyone think enough to take in the big picture? I don't know, Bob. It's not my department.
Hey, what's up, world? Hope you're all having a pretty darn good day. My day, it's alright. It was kind of a roller coaster of a day. Some drama at one of my jobs. My shin is kind of still hurting me. I banged it up a couple more times today for those of you who saw my shin injury that I shared with you all a couple videos ago. But things go on. It's not about how many times you fall off the horse. It's about how many times you get back on that bitch, right? Anyway, before I get into this video, I sort of want to apologize. I recognize that I had a bias, or at least I say past tense had because I'm going to kind of check it. I realize it's kind of a silly bias. I'm talking, of course, about what I said in my last video about bald people. And it's, a particular type of bald people. I sort of take that back. There's many reasons why a person can lose their hair. So to kind of blame it entirely on the individual and the things that they probably do or don't do is kind of premature of me. It's kind of immature of me as well. And I take it back. I correct that bias. I will try not to walk around with that shit. Biases are stupid. Prejudices are dumb. I mean, biases are a form of prejudice. So, when you prejudge something, you're basically assuming something about them. And we all know what happens when you assume, right? You make an ass out of you and me. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's move on into this video. As promised, the videos that I'm going to be talking about for the rest of this week are terrorists that the West supports, propagates in their media and such. Today, we're going to be talking about Ukraine, of course. To me, I think that Ukraine has got to be one of the biggest terrorist states on the planet right now. And they're definitely the terrorists that we've given the most amount of money to. And don't get me wrong, these people are terrorists. And we're going to be looking at that in this video. And, silly enough, or funny enough, my goofy ass didn't even really recognize them as terrorists until I came across this article right here. Dozens of Russian civilians returned by Ukraine. So Kiev has repatriated 33 individuals. That lovely number 33. By this way, this article is actually from March 3rd, 2025. There's got to be some fucking coded message there, right? Well, it's not me. I promise you, I'm not the one trying to put some code out there. This is by all means the powers that shouldn't be. Remember, Russia, Ukraine, the United States, any fucking country that you think of, they're all playing for the same hidden hand. Alrighty, where was I at? Sorry, my first recording got interrupted. So as I was saying, yeah, they're all working for the same hidden hand. Their job is just to make it look like they're not. I've studied enough history to know that this is a fact. This is a reality. So anyway, back to talking about the terrorist state that is Ukraine. Came across this article and I was like, man, these people are most definitely terrorists. So let's just take a quick look at this article. Now, before I even get into this article, actually, is it over here? Yeah, we'll be getting right there, right? So anyway, Kiev has handed over 33 civilians from Ukrainian-controlled parts of Russia's Kursk region. Moscow's Human Rights Commissioner, this person, has announced. Most of the repatriated citizens are elderly, the official noted. According to this guy who welcomed the individuals as they crossed into Belarus, the group includes 4 children between 1 and 10 years of age. 9 of the civilians needed urgent medical assistance, including several wheelchair-bound individuals, the official revealed. I mean, it doesn't look good when you're handing over people that you kidnapped and they're in need of medical attention. Now, the question is, what happened to these kids' parents? Because according to Russia, I mean, I don't really need to read any more of this article, but according to Russia, Russia claims that Ukrainian soldiers killed nearly 24 civilians in the Kursk region. And I've seen videos of this. I've seen raw videos. We're going to be looking at some raw videos of Ukraine kidnapping their own civilians, but I've seen raw videos, which I'm not going to share here, of bodies in basements of Russian civilians, elderly people, not even that elderly, but you can tell like what look like parents or farmers, not people in military attire, normal people in basements. Even their dog was killed in one instance, right? So it appears like Ukraine is doing this. Now, what's interesting, a video that I really wish I had held on to, maybe it's on one of my old cell phones, but there was this video really early on in the war. There was Russian-speaking Ukrainians trying to flee Ukraine, and it's a video that was at nighttime, and there was these two people in the video. There's like a guy and a girl, or a man and a woman. It wasn't a guy and a girl because it wasn't like a little girl. It was a woman. So there was this man and this woman in the video, and they came across a bunch of cars on the side of the road that had a bunch of people in them that were shot up. Like it looked like these people were trying to flee, and then they were like shot up. And the woman in the video wanted to help the people, and the man's like, "Nah, man, there's nothing we can do. We got to get out of here." And they get in their car, and as they're driving away, their vehicle came under heavy gunfire. Word at the time was that the woman did not survive, and it was a really sick video, really sick video. I had a friend of mine who speaks the language sort of like translated a little bit, and even he was clearly disturbed by it. Very disturbing video. So Ukraine has a history of killing civilians. In this case, they went into the Kursk region, and they ended up killing civilians. I guess these were the people that they managed to take capture, these people here, but they were young children and elderly that they returned. So those are people who aren't going to put up a fight or any sort of resistance. I'm sure that anybody who put up even minor resistance was met with death. Now, and we're going to see some of the behavior of the Ukrainian regime that we're sending, hundreds of billions of dollars in aid to, right? So this is just simply one report, 24 civilians in the Kursk region. I'm sure it was a great deal more than this. But anyway, let's look at another video real quick. Let's look at a video. This video is titled, "How Ukrainian Military Commissars Kidnap People on the Streets," on the street, right? So let's check out this video. And this is interesting because you don't ever see any Western media outlets cover this. Hopefully this video will load. So you got this guy here. This is a Ukrainian soldier here, commissar. Hides behind the thing. Literally pushes this guy off his bike. They set up this trap here. This guy's like, what the hell's wrong with you? They got several vans here. They got this van and this van. And look at them. They just swarm this guy. And it's hilarious because it's like, all right, these commissars, they're kidnapping these people on the streets of Ukraine. And it's like, look at all these fools. Well, why don't they go to the front line? No, their job is just simply to go and capture these people, to send them to the front line. They're probably like, yeah, get your bike in the car too. We're taking you and your bike. You can use that bike on the front line. So they got his ass, right? Now that was actually a peaceful kidnapping. Check out this one. Check out this kidnapping right here. All right, check out this this kidnapping right here. This one's a little bit more egregious, a little bit more aggressive. Did you see the guy's leg up here? And they just fucking leave the guy's dog. Like, unbelievable. Dude's fucking out there walking his dog. Just kidnap him. Oh, fuck the dog. Just leave the dog there. You know, good luck, dog. So anyway, let's move on to some more obvious acts of terrorism, right? So we got this one. This is probably one of my favorite, right? The Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. When you type in, who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline? The exact identity of those responsible for the Nord Stream pipeline explosion remains unclear, with various reports suggesting involvement from a small Ukrainian team, while others speculate about possible CIA involvement. Investigations by Germany, Denmark, and Sweden have not conclusively identified the perpetrators. Well, of course, I mean, I'm sure that they know exactly who did it, but they're not going to come out and say it, because then it's going to make them look bad. Even though it's blatantly obvious, right? Even though it's super obvious, and of course, Western media outlets, investigative journalism? Oh, what's that? No, we don't do investigative journalism. We just report on whatever the government tells us to report on. The government told us not to report on this, or, report on who really did it, so we're just not going to do it, because we care more about money than truth and justice. So this is obvious act of terrorism. This was a huge environmental catastrophe right here. It had huge environmental impacts. But crickets, especially crickets from the terrorists that we talked about in yesterday's video. You know, those environmental terrorists that love to make up all kinds of fucking crazy shit. Yeah, crickets from them. No talk, silence from them. So, obvious act of terrorism. We know who the culprits were. Obviously Ukraine, obviously other Western terrorists, like the CIA and the United States government, one of the biggest terrorists on the planet. So anyway, let's move on to our next one, right? This is this article is from The Guardian. It's titled, "We've Lost Some Part of Nature Forever. Ukraine War's Impact on Environment. As well as an intense human suffering, 3 years of war had a catastrophic environmental effects, killing wildlife, felling trees, and increasing emissions." Now, this article is specifically about the destruction of this dam right here. Let's read this article, or let's read this information from ChatGPT. So I'd asked ChatGPT, I was like, I'm looking for an article about the dam that was blown up in Ukraine during the war a couple years ago that caused, obviously a typo here, an environmental disaster and flooded towns along the river. So this is the article that it linked me to. In June 2023, the destruction of the Kokhovoka Dam in Ukraine, I'm probably butchering that word, led to severe environmental and humanitarian consequences. The dam's collapse caused extensive flooding along the lower Dnieper River, submerging numerous towns and villages, displacing thousands of residents, and resulting in significant ecological damage. The immediate aftermath saw the release of approximately 14 trillion liters of water, devastating local ecosystems and leading to the extinction of rare species. The floodwaters washed away a fish farm dedicated to restoring endangered sturgeon to the Dnieper River. Additionally, the collapse of river ecosystems resulted in mass die-offs of fish, with the extinction of rare species being reported. Furthermore, the flooding displaced landmines and unexploded ordnance. Should be unexploded ordinances, exacerbating the danger to both residents and wildlife. The loss of the reservoir also disrupted irrigation systems, affecting agriculture in the region. In the long term, the drained reservoir area underwent a natural rewilding process. By July 2024, a forest had emerged in the former reservoir bed, with willow and poplar trees covering approximately 140,000 hectares. This new ecosystem has become a haven for various species, showcasing nature's resilience amidst human-induced destruction. Human-induced destruction, you mean Ukrainian-induced destruction. Now, this one too, they refused to blame who was actually responsible for it. They're like, oh no, first they were blaming, oh, this was Russia's fault. This was Russia's fault. It was obviously Ukraine's fault, because they then used that destruction for their own tactical advantage, which hasn't really done much for them. Now anyway, let's move on to another act of terrorism from Ukraine, a continuing act of terrorism that's been going on for a really long time. And I've, of course, talked about this in many of my videos, and that is Ukraine attacking the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia, or the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe. So Ukraine condemns IAEA nuclear plant visit via Russian-occupied territory, right? So Ukraine, they've been attacking this shit for years. They're trying everything they can to create a nuclear disaster over here. they're trying everything that they can to create a nuclear disaster over here with the intention to drag other Western allies into this fight or into this conflict. Now, interestingly enough, of course, they always try to blame Russia. They're always like, oh, no, it's Russia doing it, even though Russia is the one who's controlling it, and it's basically within their territory now. So it would make very little sense. It's like, okay, so how would Russia benefit from attacking this nuclear power plant? They wouldn't at all. They would receive zero benefit from attacking this power plant. It's in their occupied territory. They have their troops there, and they know that if something does happen to this, it's just going to be an excuse for other countries to come into the conflict. Now, what's interesting is, of course, Russia says this IAEA mission arrived at the nuclear power plant through Russia. They had to go through Russia because Ukraine refuses to let them through in order to investigate this thing. Now, the funniest thing, though, is that this IAEA, I believe it's the International Atomic Energy Association of some sort. I forget the exact name for it, right? Actually, it's probably here. Yeah, International Atomic Energy Agency. Yeah, that's the name of it. So this is the director over here. And they refuse to come out and directly say that it's Ukraine attacking this power plant. You know, they go there, they investigate it, they see that all evidence points to Ukraine, but they refuse to point the finger and blame Ukraine or blame anybody. They're like, oh, well, technically we can't blame Ukraine because Russia's occupying it, so we totally understand why Ukraine would want to attack it, as if that's like a logical excuse at all. These are terrorists. Ukraine is a bunch of terrorists. So not just that, not only is Ukraine blowing up dams and causing environmental catastrophes with that, not only are they blowing up underwater pipelines that are filled with natural gas and causing all kinds of untold problems with that, but there's another article, which I fortunately remember. It happened right around the same time that they destroyed that dam. So they destroyed this dam. When did they destroy this dam? It was, it was June 2023. In the exact same month, June 7th, 2023, Ukraine also blew up an ammonia pipeline. Now, this is actually the largest ammonia pipeline. Where is it? Okay, I'm not gonna. I'll just blur this out. I'll just blur out my identifying information there. Where are we at? Okay. So here we go. So in June 2023, the Toleti Odessa ammonia pipeline, the world's largest ammonia pipeline, was damaged in Ukraine's Kharkiv region. The Russian defense minister attributed the incident to Ukraine sabotage and reconnaissance group. But of course, did anybody directly blame Ukraine for this? This was like an image of it. Huge amount of ammonia was released. Largest ammonia pipeline in the world. Not just in Europe, in the world. It's the world's largest ammonia pipeline and stretches roughly 2,500 kilometers. So yeah, Ukraine blew this shit up too. And not to mention all the other, like Ukraine has a bad habit of attacking Russian oil refineries, which cause all kinds of fossil fuel releases and stuff. And they do these attacks. I mean, Russia, they're not innocent themselves. Of course, they're bombing Ukraine and stuff, but they're not targeting these types of infrastructure. They're targeting energy power plants, right? But they're not targeting big giant fossil fuel containers or these sort of pipelines which have actual environmental consequences. When they do target Ukraine, I mean, they don't necessarily try to target civilian areas. Maybe some of their missiles end up hitting civilian areas because they get blown off course from air defense systems. Who knows? Maybe some of them, I will even say, maybe they are targeting civilian areas, but most of the reports that I've seen, they're not trying to target civilian areas. But Ukraine specifically targets civilian, non-military, non-strategic areas. Russia, they try to have some sort of a strategic target. Well, of course, targeting power plants, I guess that affects all the civilians in the area. They're without electricity and stuff. But Ukraine is notorious. They are a special kind of stupid when it comes to targeting things that impact the environment as a whole. So, of course, crickets from the environmental terrorists with this too. Crickets from the environmental terrorists when they target these large oil refineries. Because, they don't really care. It's all a show. They're all terrorists. They're all working for the same team. And they're all against who? the people at large. And that includes Russia, that includes all of these other characters. But anyway, that's about all I have to say for this video. There's, I'm sure, plenty of other articles that I can be covering on this topic. There's a bunch of other evidence that points to Ukraine being a bunch of terrorists. But I think that we've seen enough. I just wanted to document a lot of this stuff because I noticed that a lot of it is getting memory hold. It's really difficult to find some of this stuff. But anyway, that's about all I have to say in this video. So as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay sharp.
Mother's cunt stinks like carpet cleaner.